In this presentation, we will walk through the steps of putting together a resume and discuss just how you can tailor it to make it an effective tool for your job search. Employers look through a lot of resumes and talk to a lot of people. On average, employers take an initial glance of no more than 15 seconds to filter through whether they are interested in you or not. You want to make sure you are memorable. You need them to understand your value to them and remember it when they go to make their decision. Stories are memorable. As you create your resume, think about a story in terms of telling your life story. The first step is to create an experience list. This is where you take all that you've done and all of the information that you have pertaining to yourself and determine how to organize your skills and accomplishments in the standard resume layout. You may have a lot of information, so I suggest creating a master resume and copying and pasting information to a new document when applying to a specific job. Now let's walk through the different sections on a resume. To help you complete your resume, create an outline as we go along. The first section on a resume is the heading section. You want to make sure to include your name, which should be the biggest font on the page, your address, phone number, and email address. Make sure to use an appropriate email address, not something that would embarrass you. And make sure you have an appropriate voicemail greeting on your phone. Your name should be the biggest text on the page, then contact information, local or permanent address, phone numbers, and email address, and list it as a professional email address. Next, we will talk about the objective. There are many mixed opinions about objectives as they are optional. The objective, if chosen, is a short 1 to 2 line phrase that lets the reader know what types of position you are applying for. It's not your entire career objective. If you include it, make sure you are brief and specific. As you can see in this example, it lists the type of position, emphasizes your most relevant skills, and mentions geographic preference. Make sure to provide focus to your resume by including a type of job or industry that you are seeking if you choose to have an objective. It should emphasize your stronger or most relevant skills, including geographic preference or other value if appropriate, and it should be no longer than 1 to 2 sentences. The education section typically comes next. You will want to list your degrees with the most recent first. Also, include your graduation date, the name and location of the university as well. Include any majors, minors, or concentrations. If you list your GPA, which is optional, make sure it is at least a 3.0 or higher, and to list it out of a 4.0 scale. Otherwise, it is completely optional. You may also include things like honors, license, or study abroad. You could choose to list relevant coursework. Just make sure it's relevant to what types of things you are currently applying to. In this case, Anita has an English degree but is choosing to highlight her psychology courses because she is thinking of going into a helping career. Refer to the catalog for degrees that accompanies your major. You do not have to include school's summer or transfer credit unless it was a degree granting credit. Your degrees should be in reverse chronological order with the date or anticipated date of graduation. Here are other examples from an experience section. You can see that each bullet point begins with a strong action verb and that they have used quantifiers. Anytime you can quantify something on your resume, it makes it stronger. In some cases, it helps to have 2 experience sections, one for relevant experience and another for other experience that is less relevant to your current objective. In that case, you would list the relevant experience section first. This can be done in the form of a title, organization name, city, state, and/or country if it's not in the US. Make sure you include the dates the position was held, and it is in reverse chronological order. If applicable, make sure you group it in sections emphasizing objective. Here's an example of an entry from an experience section. It follows the rules, but compare it to this one. Which one sounds better? Which one would you hire? The second description makes the applicant sound more qualified. The bullet points describe more details and focus on the transferable skills of the job, not just the basic job duties. You will also notice in the second entry, the amount of money that has been handled is also listed. This would be another example of adding a quantifier on your resume. The other sections you choose to include on your resume can vary. Remember that your resume is unique to you. Think about what you would want to highlight and let that determine what sections you need. You may want a section to highlight any activities in or out of school, leadership experiences, volunteer work, or professional development. Choose a heading that is appropriate for the content or activities you choose. Here's a sample of an activities section that includes a student organization. You can see that they are listed the same way you might for a job. Be mindful when listing political or religious organizations or affiliations. You never know who may be reading your resume. You may want to make the listings more general as we have the student political group listed. Including a general additional information or skills section can be helpful for showcasing other experiences, skills, or information you want the reader to have that doesn't necessarily fit in any other category. If you have a substantial amount of something or want to draw more attention to it, you could create a separate section. This can include anything of relevance, computer programs, language skills, and if you choose to incorporate language skills, make sure to include your level of ability. For example, if you are proficient, you have working knowledge, or if you are fluent in another language. You can also feel free to include any research or laboratory skills. This is also an area where you can add study or work abroad, which should be included in the above sections as education, experience, community service, or etc. As we mentioned, the sections you include may vary. Here are some examples of others you may want to think about including in your resume. Remember, you do not need to include all of these sections. Choose headings that fit your personal experiences. Once you have decided what to include on your resume, you can begin to format it in resume style. Here's an example of our completed resume using the examples we showed. For more guidelines and example resumes, visit our resume writing guide and samples on our website at career.utk.edu. Depending on what position you're applying for, the language used in your resume may and should change. Let's say a student is applying for a business or sales position and is also wanting to apply for a counseling position. Combined, this is an overall list of everything that was done in the experience that is being described. But notice that they only included what was most relevant to the type of job they were applying for. They used words familiar to the fields to describe the same things. For example, the word train for a business position and teach for a counseling position. One job or experience can demonstrate multiple skill sets, so you must choose which ones to highlight based on the job you are applying for. Think about the most important skills for each job or in each job description and how you can talk about your experience to best highlight them. It's always important to have someone else review your resume before actually submitting it. Once you have completed a resume, come into the Center for Career Development for a resume critique. You can come to resume walk-in hours, or for now, go on to Handshake and make an appointment with one of our peer career advisors for a 15-minute session. If you want more assistance, you can request an appointment with a career consultant specializing in your specific field of interest by calling our office or going online to handshake.utk.edu.